Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Jace Love Strength. And I am glad to say that I'm feeling much better. But since I am feeling better, that means I need to record this video so that I can get my butt to the gym. Because in my opinion, if I'm healthy enough to talk about Strongman, then I should be healthy enough to go pretend that I am one for an hour or two. But before I get to the gym, we're going to do something that I think is super interesting. Because we talk all the time about who the GOATs are, who the greatest strongman of all time is. We say, hey, let's look at World Strongest Man titles. Let's look at Arnold titles. Let's look at Rogue titles, Giants Live titles, how long they competed, what their peak strength was, what era they were in, who they competed against. And yes, all of that matters. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. Today, I want to ask a much simpler question. And what we're going to do is when these guys entered international competition, who actually won the highest percentage of the time? So we're not going to look at who had the longest career, not who was the most famous, not who had the most fans, not even necessarily who the greatest overall was, although you might say that this tells you that story. But we're going to look strictly at the winning percentages in international strongman history. And then, that's for this video. Spoiler alert, I want you to stay tuned because at some point this weekend, I'm going to post another video where we're going to look at which athletes had the best podium percentages in international competition. But for this one, we're looking strictly at winners, baby. So let me explain the rules to you real quick. I want to let you know that we don't have a big set of rules here. The comment section is going to basically tell me where I screwed up and the rules that I should have had. So I trust that you guys are going to keep me on my toes whether I make rules or not. But in this case, all I wanted to do was say that an athlete had to compete a minimum of 25 times in professional international contests to qualify. Now you might say, Jace, why 25? And I'd say, well, because I had to choose a number. That's the most honest answer. But also, I think that winning percentages can get silly when you had a tiny sample size. It's too easy to skew it. So I wanted a large enough sample size that we could actually not have the results skewed by one or two wins. So if someone competed in 3 international shows and won 2 of them, technically, they're awesome, right? They're a god among men because they'd have a 66.7 win percentage. But that doesn't mean that they belong necessarily along the likes of Brian Shaw, Hafthor, Big Z, or the Pudzianowski. You might say, hey, they got a 66% win rate. That's not their fault. Yeah, they do it belong up there. But I wanted to make sure that you couldn't sway your winning percentages because you just haven't competed enough. So that's why we're at 25, all right? So without further ado, I guess we kind of need to look at it. So let me go ahead and bring the spreadsheet up for you guys. All right, so we're going to start out by talking about Big Z. The first thing that comes here is we can see Žydrūnas Savickas way out in front of anyone else with the most international contests. 157 international contests for Big Z, showing his longevity, really. And we could go through and look at all these guys. I'm not going to do that because we just want to look at the winners, baby. But I will go ahead and call special attention to all of these guys with over 100 because that's kind of a cool mark. So we've got Žydrūnas again with 157. You got Irvin Katona with 114. You got Krzysztof Rzykowski with 110. You have Mark Felix with 108. So those 4 men have competed more than 100 times, or at least 100 times, in professional international contests. But again, I said we want to look at which guys had the best winning percentages. So let's do that. When we sort our spreadsheet that way, we can see that Mariusz Pudzianowski has a 70.96 winning percentage in international competition. To me, this kind of goes to show something that I've talked about in this channel before, which is that Mariusz is actually criminally underrated as a strongman by many people, myself included. I'm guilty. I think he had this crazy look, and it was during a time when we focused a lot more on dynamic events and things of that nature. You can't fault him against the competition that was there or the contest that showed up. You can only say, hey, go there and perform. And the guy did that. He's the only man in history with 5 World's Strongest Man titles. We act like they don't even count or don't even matter. And this goes to show that it's just not a matter of him only competing in World's Strongest Man. You can see right here that Mariusz competed in 62 pro international competitions, and he walked away a victor in 44 of those things. So this isn't just, hey, let's look at the dynamic types of competition that were going on at World's Strongest Man at the time. This dude went to a lot of different events, and it didn't matter what kind of events were on the board. He was a winner more often than not. Almost 71% of the time. That is crazy, and he probably deserves more of all of our respect. All right, up next, the second highest winning percentage of all time is the guy who's trying to cement his GOAT status today, Mitchell Hooper. This kid who came out of nowhere a few years ago, got invited to come to the 2022 World's Strongest Man. We were watching it live together and having one of our little watch parties. And you guys probably remember, I was very surly about this kid getting an invite to the World's Strongest Man. He had never been in a pro competition before. He made some Instagram videos that went viral, and he got this invite to World's Strongest Man 2022. And I was legitimately upset by this. It's like, this guy doesn't belong here. What the heck's going on? And then he goes out there and performs fantastic through the groups and does something that no one else had done for like 12 years in a row, which was he made Brian Shaw not win his group. He made Brian Shaw finish second in that group, and Shaw actually had to go ahead and win it in a stone-off to get into the final. But Mitchell Hooper went out there, and in the very first event, he got a win. People were like, whoa, who is this guy? And, of course, we know what happened after that. After he had his first pro competition, I don't know who gets to make their first pro competition at World's Strongest Man, but he did. I could be as mad or angry about it as I want, but it looks like they knew what they were doing and they made the right call, because since then, we don't need to say a whole lot about him. You guys all know what Mitchell Hooper has done since he appeared. So, Mitchell Hooper so far has appeared in 29 international competitions, and he has walked away the winner in 18 of those. That means he has a 62% winning percentage. This is even more impressive when you stop to think that, I think it's kind of funny that I'm going to use this as a criticism, because I was going to say, I think he had to go to his 5th or 6th pro event before he got a victory. I don't know how many people would love to say they walked away a winner after only 5 or 6 events, but he had to compete in a few before he got his first win. But since he got that first win, it's been an incredible winning percentage. All right, the next person that we need to talk about is Riku Kiri, who competed in 31 international competitions, and he has a 54.8 winning percentage. Now, we also have to say that Rico won no World's Strongest Men titles. He did compete in the World's Strongest Man 5 times, though, making the finals in 4 of them. So there we go. And if we're going to talk about no World Series wins, that's really going to take us to our next guy, who's 4th in the list, because that's Robert Sierwis from Poland. He had 44 international contests with 24 international wins for a 54.5 point winning percentage, so virtually tied with Riku. Now, what we need to say about this is this gentleman, along with a few other names that you're going to see, actually competed in 0 World's Strongest Men events. He competed at the World's Strongest Man 0 times. So there's a couple different ways to look at this. You could say, well, Jace, just go ahead and disqualify this guy because he didn't even compete at the World's Strongest Man. So clearly he was in a lot of competitions, clearly had a good winning percentage, but he probably wasn't going against top tier competition, so he shouldn't even be on your list. And I would go, I hear you. That makes sense. That's a strong argument. But I would also say someone who has a 54.5% winning percentage in international competition, maybe you could make an argument that perhaps he should have been invited to a competition at least once. And I believe this gentleman is still competing today. I know that he's been going for like 15 years or something like that, but I think he's still competing and active right now currently. All right, so after that we go to the gentleman I just spoke about in the opener with 157 international competitions. 84 victories for Big Z. That's a 53.5% winning percentage. And we don't need to argue about Big Z's level of competition. This guy was successful across multiple eras and had battles with several of the greats from several eras. So to do what Big Z did, to have a 53.5 winning percentage, when you've got over 150 international contests and you're squaring off against the guys that he squared off with, that is scary. And that's a big reason why a lot of people consider him the greatest of all time. I dare say the majority of people probably consider him the greatest of all time. Next up, we've got Jouko Ahola, who has a 48% winning percentage in international competition. He competed in 25 competitions, so just making the cutoff, and he was good for 12 victories. He also competed at the World's Strongest Man 3 times and walked away with 2 victories at the World's Strongest Man. So if we go look at just the World's Strongest Man winning percentage, you can see that Jouko actually had a 66.6, so 67% winning percentage at World's Strongest Man, winning 2 out of the 3 times that he was there, which I think ties him for the best mark there, the best winning percentage at World's Strongest Man. All right. After that, we've got Jan Salata. He competed in 29 international contests. He picked up 13 wins, which is good for a 44.8 winning percentage. Every criticism that we made of Robert Sirwas and said, well, he didn't compete at World's Strongest Man, may not have faced off against the stiffest competition there was, you can apply it here. He's another guy that this applies to. But again, I think it's fair to say, hey, you can't really control who's there. If you're beating the contest, maybe the guy should have got invited to some more premium competitions. Maybe he shouldn't have. It's a discussion worth having is all I'm saying. Okay, up next, we've got the Mountain, Hafthor Julius Björnsson. Believe it or not, Hafthor has competed in 71 international contests. That's way more than a lot of us would assume, especially because he stepped away from the sport, been very inactive. But when he was active, he was very active. So he's competed in 71 international competitions, and he was the winner in 31 of those things. That's good enough for a 43.6 win percentage. It's also worth pointing out that he competed in 9 World's Strongest Men contests. He made the final every single time that he was there, with, of course, the 1 victory. Up next, one of Big Z's and Hafthor's rivals here. We've got Brian Shaw, who competed in 66 international contests. So again, that's something to say right there. If I hadn't shown you the spreadsheet here, would you guys have thought that Hafthor had actually competed in more pro international competitions than Brian Shaw? Probably not. But he did. 71 to 66. Brian had 27 victories in those 66 battles, which was good for a 40.9 winning percentage. So that means that Hafthor competed in more international contests than Brian and had a higher winning percentage. So I'm not saying that he's better. I'm not saying you have to rank Hafthor above Brian Shaw in the GOAT debate. I'm simply talking about how often they competed and what their winning percentage is. And that's enough to say that, believe it or not, the world's best deadlifter, I think a lot of people underrate him and don't respect his career as much as they should. I think this is a good mark. If we look at Brian Shaw's winning percentage at World's Strongest Man, well, he has 4 victories, which gives him a 25 winning percentage. So that means that 1 out of every 4 times that he was there, he won, because he competed at the World's Strongest Man 16 times. That's just below Žydrūnas' winning percentage at World's Strongest Man at 28.5. Up next, we're going to turn back the clock to some of the early days of Strongman, and we're going to look at John Páll Sigmarsson. He competed internationally 30 times. He picked up 12 wins. That's good for a 40% winning percentage. And then in World's Strongest Man, he's actually has a 57% winning percentage at World's Strongest Man, having competed there 7 times and winning 4 titles, the same as Shaw, the same as Žydrūnas. So that's all of the guys who would be in our top 10 if we're looking strictly at international. But since we had a couple guys who never competed in a couple of the major shows, I thought we might go ahead and look at some of the guys that did do that. So up next, we're going to look at Hugo Girard real quick. 38 international contests, 15 international wins. That's good enough for a 39.4 winning percentage internationally. He did compete at World's Strongest Man 7 times, making the finals 6 of those 7. No titles. And the next guy that we have to talk about is actually going to be Ivars Smokstelis. That's right. Ivars is up here among your leaders. If we're looking at guys who have competed at World's Strongest Man, he has your 10th highest international winning percentage. So Ivars has competed in a whopping 84 international contests. He scored 28 victories there. He's been at the Worlds 7 times. He's made the final only 2 of the 7, but hey, he got invited. He was good enough to get invited 7 times there, right? And we know that Ivars has never won there. But anyway, we can see that Ivars has won 1/3 of every contest that he's been in. So 33.3%. After that, you've got some names here that I don't want to spend too much time on because we just went through the top 10. I'm going to share the spreadsheet link in the description. You guys can check it out at your leisure, whichever way you want to pronounce it. So I will just call a couple of attention here. If we were going down one more, we could get the Dragon in there. Unfortunately, the Dragon actually gets bested by Ivars. Now, I do think it's worth saying that I think that Martins has been against the stiffer competition and has competed in more of the major shows. So I think that's one of the reasons that Ivars has a 33.3% versus the Dragon's 32.1%. But you still got to say that he has the higher winning percentage. So the Dragon doesn't make our top 10 out of those who competed in World's Strongest Man. But he's been a 6 World's Strongest Man. He made the finals every time, and of course he has that 1 victory. The only other persons that I'm going to bring out here are going to be Oleksii Novikov and Magnus Magnuson. So if we look at Oleksii, we can see that Oleksii has competed in 54 international contests. He's got 14 international wins. He's been the world's 5 times, made the finals 3 of those, and he's a winner of the World's Strongest Man. And he's good enough for a 25.9% winning percentage. And then I have to talk about Magnus Magnuson because I think it would be criminal not to mention another man who has 4 freaking titles. He should at least get a mention here. So Magnus Magnuson competed 56 times internationally, good for 13 wins. That's a 23.2 winning percentage. He went to Worlds 7 times, made the final 6 of them, and like I said, he won 4 of those. So I felt like I had to talk about that. Anyone who has won 4 World's Strongest Man titles, they deserve to be mentioned in this. So that's the list. Now, before we end this, though, we were just talking about Mariusz's crazy winning percentage of over 70 for his 44 wins out of 62 contests. We also talked about Big Z and how he got 84 crazy wins over an even more crazy 157 international contests. So I wanted to give those guys some shine. But then we talked about Mitchell Hooper and what he is doing now. And because we talked about Mitchell Hooper and what he's doing now, I also thought maybe we should take a look at something that he had to say today to a question that I asked, because I think it's very, very related since he is the guy right now.
After Worlds 2022, if someone said to you that you'd still be competing in 2026, win Worlds twice, and hold a 62% international win rate, how crazy would that have sounded to you?
Well, the facts of it would have sounded insane for sure, but they go hand in hand. Because I think if I wasn't doing that well, I probably at some point would have become, I felt like other priorities might have taken over. But yeah, you never anticipate being that good. And I was doing something the other day. If you take, so I didn't win my first Worlds, which is my first pro show. I didn't win Royal Albert Hall, World Tour Finals, or the Shaw Classic. My first win was the Arnold UK 2022. If you take out the first 4 shows before I won, and you take out the 2 shows from last year that obviously I wasn't in the headspace to do much of anything, I've actually won 82% of shows that I've entered, which is like, it's absurd. So if my head is in a good place, since 2022, I've won more than 4 out of 5 shows I've entered. It's a good track record. And there's no SCLs in there. There's no kind of like easy wins. It's all Giants Lives or majors. So a lot of points of pride in there to turn up and, you know, be consistent and do my thing and be at my best. And doing that very regularly. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like the whole thing is such a wild ride.
Okay, so there you have it. And that's what Mitchell had to say. I guess the thing that I want to comment on there is that he did mention something that I did too, is that he didn't win right away. He says it took him to his 5th competition, so I wasn't sure if it was 5 or 6, but didn't win, started winning a bunch. Then, of course, he talks about last year and the things that were going on in his personal life. I can definitely understand how it would be hard to compete with that going on, but I can't say that I can't just forget that information and say, okay, that your winning percentage is actually this. His winning percentage is 62, which it's amazing. It's amazing. Whether you subtract those first 4 competitions, whether you subtract the drama from his life last year or other things, it doesn't really matter. You don't need to make it much more impressive than a 62% win rate. That's the 2nd best all time, and we're probably still early in the infancy of his career. Now, he's got some hard competition coming up. We know that. Reno has steadfastly stepped on the scene and said, Mitch, if you want people to keep talking about you, you got to make sure that they don't talk about me. And so, and that's not his only challenger out there either. We got a very, very deep field these days. I think Strongman right now is deeper than it's ever been. That's my own personal opinion. But in any event, I just wanted to hear what Mitchell had to say, considering that he has currently the 2nd highest winning percentage in international competition of all time. And when he first came out, way back in 2022, and got that invite that I was disappointed he was there. Like, why does this guy get an invite? There's guys who deserve it. There's guys who have earned it. Don't give it to this Instagram dude. That was my opinion back then. It really was. And you guys heard me say it live. Regardless of that, when I think about it, I remember back then he was thinking he wasn't going to hang around the sport. He might do it for a year, maybe 2. He had other things that were interesting to him. This really wasn't a focal point for him. And, you know, I don't think anyone could think that they're going to do that. But he's hung around longer. He's continued to see success long term. And so I was just kind of curious, you know, if someone had went back and said, hey, I have a crystal ball and this is what the future is going to hold, I just want to know what he would have thought about that. So anyway, that's the information. That's the episode. What you need to do now is drop your comments into the, I guess the comment box. Is that what you call it? Yeah, put your comments in the comment box. And here's some different things for you guys to talk about. Number 1, are you surprised to know that Hafthor has actually been in 71 international contests? Are you surprised to know that he's been in more contests than Brian Shaw? What do you think about Mitchell Hooper's track record so far? What do you think about Mariusz Pudzianowski's 70+ winning percentage? And what do you think about the master, Big Z, with over 150 international contests and 84 victories? Do the rest of these numbers even matter? Or is it Big Z's reign of dominance for as long as he did all that we need to look at? The rest of these percentages, you guys are sitting there going, I don't care about your math, Jace. You look at the body of work of Big Z and this discussion is over. You tell me. And I'll read the comments. I'll probably respond because you see that I do more often than not. But now, this little guy's got to get his butt to the gym. See you next time.